Hello, in this tutorial, we will go over the most essential print settings in Makerbot Print, as well as how to export your sliced 3D model to get it printed. The print settings can be accessed on the right side panel, which is indicated by the gear icon. Once you click on it, you can first choose the extruder type. For our studio, the extruder type should be the Smart Extruder Plus. You can also turn on or off the support materials very quickly under the print settings. We will discuss when you need to turn it on later. And for the print mode, the default setting is balanced mode. If you click on the three dots icon, you can find two additional print modes that are draft and Infill. However, we should note that there are no default settings, as the settings we choose depends on what we want to use our 3D printers for. For 3D printing, one important consideration is the balance of print time and quality. And generally speaking, the higher quality the print is, the longer print time it requires. So make sure to keep these in mind as we discuss different settings. So let's first talk about the presets suggested by Makerbot Print. The balanced mode is a balance of a high surface quality and quick print time. And the draft mode, as the description indicates, it is a quick sketch mode. It favors speed over surface quality, and it is great for multiple iterations. And finally, the Infill is the fastest mode, and it uses the minimum amount of internal structure, and it is ideal for large prints that don't need to be very durable. However, these standardized print settings are like the presets for your DSLR cameras. They're handy, but don't always yield the best result. Therefore, it's recommended to customize the settings based on your print needs so you have the full control and get the best results. So in order to view all the settings, we need to open up the Custom Settings menu. And you can find a lot of settings that you can tweak. However, the only thing that we need to pay attention to is under the Quick Settings. And we will find 4 different options. If we fundamentally understand these 4 options, plus an additional concept, which is support, then we're pretty much set for many prints to come. So the first option we see is raft. This determines how the first set of plastic will be laid on the build plate. This is an important setting because one of the most common issues with 3D printing is when your model begins to peel off of the build plate, which we refer to as warping. Because the Makerbot Replicator Plus uses an unheated plastic build plate, this tends to be a common issue. We can achieve the best results with this printer by using the raft option. You can turn on raft here. This will essentially print a plastic platform for our model to print on, which allows larger surface area contact between the plastic and the build plate. This tends to result in better adhesion. So next, we will need to tell the printers how thick to make each layer plastic, so the next option is layer height. This is the single most important 3D printing setting because it will help determine how detailed and strong the final model is, as well as determining how long it takes to print. Generally speaking, the thicker our layers, the less Z-direction detail we can capture, and the thinner our layers, the more Z-direction detail. Layer height is a quick way to add or reduce the overall print time of your model. And for Makerbot printers, we recommend using 0.2 mm as a good baseline, but any value between 0.15 mm and 0.3 mm will print successfully, but will provide a very different part quality and print time. Note that you can use values in between as well, such as 0.25 mm. Again, a thicker layer height will result in faster print times, but reduced quality. Now we need to tell the printer how it will fill in the middle of the model, that is infill density. Because we're building the part from the bottom up, it doesn't have to be solid on the inside. 3D printing is made more efficient by inserting patterns on the inside of solid models, which drastically reduces print time, weight, and plastic usage, while still giving models a strong structure. This option allows you to control how dense the pattern is on the inside of the model. For most models that are non-load-bearing parts, 10 to 20% will suffice. However, if your model will serve some structural purpose, it may be a good idea to go up to 65%. However, it's important to note that increasing infill doesn't always lead to increased strength because there are diminishing returns. In addition, more infill costs both material and time, as well as increasing mass. So as a recap, the infill density impacts the material usage, weight, strength, and print time. Therefore, infill is a good setting to customize if you want to shave off a bit of print time. Finally, we need to tell the printer how thick we want the shell of the model to be. This is going to determine how many layers of solid plastic are on the top, bottom, and the size of the model. More shells will increase model strength, but increase print time as well. Usually 2 is a good baseline for non-structural parts, but it can be set as high as 7 for structural elements. The last thing I want to cover is very important, which is support. And you can also turn on and off support easily under the print settings quick menu. So one biggest limitation to FDM 3D printing is that we can't really print on top of nothing. As such, when we have overhangs that are too large, support material needs to be added to hold up the model. If you check the support material box, the software will look for and automatically determine where support material is needed, so you don't have to worry about it. When the part is done printing, you can use pliers and other tools to remove support materials very easily. While support material is great, it's better to avoid using it when possible. You can see that the model currently on the build plate is not in an ideal position because if I zoom in, you can see that because the loop of this keychain overhangs, as well as some other parts that has overhangs, so it needs a lot of support. One way to check on that is if we click on Print Preview, and you can see where the support is actually needed. So it would take a bit of time to generate the preview. So now you can see if I click on the support material, all the orange part is the support material required for printing this keychain. I would definitely make it so difficult to clean out all the support material later on. So one way to solve this problem is to use orientation. And one tip that I already shared is to put the largest flat surface on the build plate. And you can see that this surface, the front one is not flat, and the back one is, and it also the largest surface. So one quick way to place it on the build plate is to choose the plane, which is the bottom, and then put it on the bottom here. So now it is laid flat on the build plate. And now if we click on preview again, and you can see that the only support is generated is the raft. We no longer need any other support material for the model. So therefore, if we orient our model like so, we can avoid using support material and end up with a better quality print. Now that we have a very good grasp of the basic print settings, let's take a look at how to preview the sliced model and how to export our model. To preview the sliced model, we can click on Print Preview on the right side panel. So it will take a little bit of time to calculate, and now you can see the preview. And we can see how much time it will take to print. And as it indicates, it's 37 minutes, and it will use this much of material. So one useful thing to do is to change the layer range to up to 1 layer. And this way, if we slide the bar on the left, we can see how our print will develop over time. This is useful if there are parts of your model you want to ensure print out with good details. So if we need to make any changes to our print settings, we can easily go back to the model view and make the changes as we desire, and then re-enter the print preview. Once we're happy with the results, we can go ahead and click Export, which is on the lower right. And it will prompt us to save a .makerbot file, and I can give it a name, for example, keychain, and then click on Save. So this now concludes the tutorial on basic print settings in Makerbot Print. Let's have a quick review. We discussed the importance of balancing quality and print time in 3D printing. We reviewed available preset settings and showed you how to customize 5 essential print settings, which are raft, layer height, infill, shells, and support. So now you should be able to successfully slice your own model and get it printed.